Hey there, this is Rich Quick, and this is a new show that we're premiering today. Two Things Can Be True. Our first episode will be about Miles Morales PS4. Um, it was a game that came out in 2020, and my take is best spin-off game that I've played, and it's also the worst spin-off game that I've played. Two things can be true on this channel. All opinions matter, but two things can always be true. So, this is a spinoff of the PS4 game Spider Man. It came out just a year before. Miles Morales also appeared in the Spider Man game, um, just as a little side character. Um, just off the top, this is the best Spider Man game. PS4 is the best Spider Man game that was made to date to me. And this is the best spin off game that has been made to date to me. But it's also the worst spin off game, and we'll get into that. All right. So, these things that I'm going to mention first are improvements off of the PS4 game that they have in Miles Morales game. Let's get into the good, and then we'll get into the bad. First thing, good music. If you watch Intro into the Spider Verse, a movie came out a couple years before. The soundtrack was the best part of that movie. It gives you a certain flavor and background of the character. Miles Morales, just to give you a short origin story, is a multicultural Spider Man that debuted, I believe, 11 years ago. It's actually August 11th, comic book issue, Ultimate Fallout issue 4, creator Brian Michael Bendis and Sour Pacelli. Most comic book characters that you watch today have 40, 50, 60, in Batman's case, 70 years of lore. This is probably the first character that has only 10 years of lore. This is a brand new character. I also want to mention I have my guy in the chair, Kyle P. He's doing editing and everything. Say what's up, Kyle.
What's going on?
Yo. I just want you to chime in real quick.
Right,
So, what do you think about this? He's a multicultural between he's black and Latina,
right.
and he's already had a cartoon movie in his own game in only 11 years of being in a comic book. Don't you think that's like amazing? I haven't heard any
That's
comic
pretty
book
impressive.
characters. That's pretty impressive, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And to be truthful, I'm a big Peter Parker fan. Spider Man is my top five character. I like Miles Morales better. He has some significant power upgrades over the regular Spider Man. He can literally go invisible. He also has something called spider venom or venom shock, where he can literally shock his opponents into unconsciousness. He can also absorb electricity. Um, so focusing on the game had way better cutscenes than PS4. It was more intense. It was a little bit more visceral. His web sling was a lot different from the PS4 version. It was more out of control, and you can tell he was just becoming Spider Man. Um, Also, the person that voiced this character was Najee Jeter. Is also This game was also directed by Ryan Smith. Um, New York was the background for the game. There also, as a side note, there was no Chrysler Building as they didn't get the rights from the from Insomniac to have the Chrysler Building in the game. The motion capture for the game took about a year and a half. There's also a Chadwick Boseman tribute He recently passed away last year. Wakanda forever. Boop, boop. The street is called. They took out the street 42nd Street and named it Chadwick Chadwick Street, I think. Um, so that's all the goods I have. I also found it a funner experience playing this game than the PS4 version. I really think that's due to the music and the cutscenes. I'm really starting to get into musical scores and movies and music, and I think it sets a tone for the character. And my best example right now would be the Batman that just came out. The score, I've never paid attention more to a music in a movie than the Batman. It literally made most of the movie just a lot more enjoyable. So let's get into some of the negatives. Kyle, what do you think so far about what I described about the game?
About the who?
About the game. Sound interesting or
Well,
the
unfortunately,
past?
like on my end, we're limited when it comes to like them type games. So
Right.
I mean,
That's perfect. That's perfect. No, because that's a perfect. I want to say the worst thing about this game, and it's all time worst. It's number one. That's why I say it's the best spin-off game, and it's also the worst. This game was priced at $49 for an 8 to 10 hour campaign. I beat this game in 2 days.
$8 to
$50,
$10.
bro.
That's not good.
That's a big disservice. This could have been a DLC. I would have paid $20 for it or $30. But to buy an entirely new game for that short of a game is criminal to me.
Mm.
And that's the worst thing about this game. It also has limited weapons. Fight animations are repetitive. The swinging is also not as smooth. There's boring side missions, and this it really should. The story was kind of bad.
Mm.
It had good cutscenes, but the story was really boring. It was nothing. It was nothing like the PS4 version. Excuse me, PS4 version. Spoilers: Aunt May dies in the PS4 version. You feel things in that story, and this story just seemed very contained. It could have been DLC, and that's the main point of this YouTube video. Don't I would not buy this game unless I went to GameStop and it was on sale for 18.99. It's totally worth $20, especially for the just to experience a new comic book character. Um, I really like this character of Miles Morales. He's much younger than Peter Parker. Peter Parker normally is in college or graduating high school. He's more in the 14, 15 age um, in the comic books and even in the game when we first meet him in the PS4 game. I do hope that the success of Into the Spider Verse, which Miles Morales starred in, that he will get his own live action movie. I think the character is well deserving. It's well written. He even has his own game right now, so I think that should lead into a live action. We have several actors that wants to take on that role. A famous actor that starred in Spider-Man: Homecoming. He's a rapper, Childish Gambino. He wanted to be. I forgot his real name. Kyle, you know his real name? He's a talented guy, Childish Gambino. But he was in Community. His name escapes me, but he wanted to play Miles Morales in the movie. No Way Home, he actually plays his uncle, and his uncle is kind of like his uncle Ben in an origin story. He's a he's a character that dies, and Miles Morales, Ben Parker dies, so that's how he gets his morality. Also in the comic books, Peter Parker dies. Spoilers, sorry. and Miles Morales takes over as the ultimate Spider-Man. I really think this is the only character in DC and in Marvel that has taken off so quickly. It took Superman years, Batman years, Wonder Woman 30, 40, 50 years. This character has done it in less than 12 years. The only other character that I can think of is Miss Marvel, Kamala Khan, which she has her own Disney Plus show coming out. I believe in by the end of this year, she's taken off. She's one of my favorite characters too. I love the diversity in these new comic books. It's just like when Black Panther came out and you seen kids dressed up as Black Panther. It's very important to see yourself expressed on the big screen. Really, really, really appreciate the work that they've done with Miles Morales so far. Um, I'm going to wrap this up, but I do want to hear Kyle's thoughts on everything I just
Wow,
said.
that's really big. So, I mean, hopefully a lot of people watch this or listen to it because then, they can gravitate and get into the comments section because it does seem like, you know, hearing all this, I grew up with Peter Parker and everything like that when it comes to Spider-Man. And then, like, of course, Miles Morales and all that stuff. I mean, it's good. I mean, it's awesome.
Right.
But, you know, it's just hard for me to turn Peter off. You know what I mean? But, hey.
I'm telling you, bro, I was the same way. I'm like, there's no way I'm going to like this guy better than Peter Parker. But all you got to do, you haven't watched Into the Spider-Verse yet either, have you?
Yeah, I did. Me and my daughter, we went to see that. We went to see it when it was out in the movies. It was
It
cool. I mean, like it
was
was cool.
cool.
I mean, like definitely, like it was worth going out to see. That's for sure. So we enjoyed ourselves.
Yeah, wait till
Uh,
part two comes
that's what I
out.
was about to say. I mean, like you can tell they was leading up to that. My man Kingpin, he just trashed Peter Parker. I said, damn.
Right.
He made it seem like I said, oh, this is definitely
Uh,
an alternate universe because
you
Kingpin,
can't,
he
you can't do
couldn't grab
that
him
to
like
Miles
that.
Morales. He'll go invisible on him, bro.
Yeah, that was interesting.
I
I
mean,
didn't know he shot up there like that because I mean like like I said we seen it when it first came out and that was it. And we didn't think nothing else about it. So I guess he's
right.
been increasing in popularity, so to speak.
I mean, dude, that's amazing. He debuted in 2011, and he has his own movie. You can't name one comic book character, white, black, whatever. I mean, well, you can name black one now, but I just like the fact that there's no comic book character that has caught. The only closest person is Deadpool, and Deadpool came out in I think the '80s.
Yeah, he been out for a
There's
long
no
time.
other comparison to it. Like I when I first heard of Miles Morales, I thought it was around, 30, 40 years. I didn't know it literally just came out. You're never gonna find something that takes off this fast, and people love it. I mean, you saw the turnout. I mean, it's just with any type of representation. You know, when people see themselves on screens and represent it well, people will go out and pay. They don't play. Like you saw Black Panther. Black Panther did what, $1 billion?
Yeah, good movie.
It's I just think it doesn't get as much credit as it deserves because again, you can't name a character that has his movies that hasn't been out with 50 years of lore. And he just burst onto the scene, and he's such a likable character. Peter Parker was tormented by the death of Ben. Miles Morales looked up to Peter Parker and always wants to do right. So I'm gonna wrap this up, and I hope you guys go out and check out Miles Morales. Doesn't matter what color you are, I'm sure you'll like him, even if Peter Parker is your favorite Spider-Man, just like he was for me. It has nothing to do with him being Afro Latino, but I like the Miles Morales story. It's more modern. He listens to hip hop, and that's kind of his thing, man. It seemed like they always picked the perfect music for this guy. But I suggest you go out, pick up a comic, go watch the movie. You can find this on YouTube. Kyle, can you tell them the other platforms that you can find this on?
Well, if you listen to podcasts, then you should be able to pick us up on everywhere. Applecast and all that good stuff. Stitcher and yeah, and the likes Anchor, shoots it out there like that. Like you said, YouTube, you can catch us there, of course, and Facebook. That's about it.
Awesome. Remember, guys, no matter what the topic, two things can be true. People don't have to be right and wrong. People need to come together and recognize there's two point of views, and that's the whole point of this channel to get rid of some of this toxic comic book environment. Everything is versus each other. So that's why I made this channel. Things can be good, things can be bad. The next episode that we're going to do, Kyle's going to chime in more, is Skyrim. It's the best uh, RPG, also the most bugged RPG.
Yeah.
Ain't that true, Kyle?
Mm.
It's so true, brother.
I can definitely
And
say
we'll
it's got
go
some
into
bugs. It's definitely the
it.
best.
Got some major bugs. I've never seen so many bugs in the game before, but it's also the best RPG game. It's so crazy. It's also the best RPG game I played. So we're gonna sign out of here. It's your boy Rich Quick, the guy in the chair, Kyle P. Signing off. Peace, y'all.
Peace.